You're listening to Upon Further Review, presented by Coors Light on the official Raiders Podcast Network. Here's your host, Eddie Paskal.
Raider Nation, what is going on? The Remote Boys are back. Eddie Paskal here in Henderson, Nevada, producer Trav down in San Jose, and we will be joined in just a few minutes making his triumphant return to Upon Further Review, the great Kyle Cannon, Booby, Cartwright, Martin. And it is going to be a good show this week. We are coming in fast and furious yet again with the double feature this week. Ryan Reaves from the Vegas Golden Knights, a new friend of the program, stops by and breaks it all down for us. And we really hit everything with Mr. Reaves, the self-proclaimed toughest man in the NHL, and I do not dispute him on that one single bit. And then after we're done with Ryan, we welcome in one of our, another new friend as well, our linebacker, Nick Kwiatkoski. That's Kwiatkowski and Kwiatkowski, Quit-something-kowski. The great Nick Kwiatkoski, one of the newest linebackers, signed to the Las Vegas Raiders during free agency this year. And before we get into it, and we officially get into this week's Upon Further Review, presented by our good friends at Coors Light, we just want to say thank you for all the kind words, the kind tweets, the kind messages, congratulating us on our sponsorship after, I don't know, Travi, about 36 months on the air. We read them all. We appreciated them all. It meant a lot that you guys hit us up to congratulate us. And while we are very sad that we are going to have to retire the bit, the no sponsorship bit, the we got no money coming in bit, it was a hell of a bit. But we are very excited to have our new friends at Coors partnered up with us. And we are going to have a lot of really cool things cooking, especially, emphasis on especially, whenever we get into the building, whenever that may be. But yeah, man, we really, like I said, man, genuinely thank you to everyone who hit us up. Thank you for everyone who helped make this happen. And let's dance, man. Let's get into it. And even though we have a sponsor now, we begin the show as we always do with transactions. And just a single transaction this week, but an important one nonetheless. On 5/18, that's May 18th, for those of you who don't like the numeral things, the Silver and Black signed cornerback Prince Amakamura and waived/failed physical cornerback Nick Nelson. Nick Nelson, who played in just a pair of games for the Silver and Black a year ago. And I was talking to one of my buddies the other day about the Prince Amakamura signing, and I had, for the first time in a while, a moment of, oh man, I am getting old. Because when I saw that Prince Amakamura was going into his 10th season in the NFL, I was startled, to say the least. Because I saw Prince Amakamura as like that dude coming out of Nebraska. Maybe he's been in the league for a few years, but no, sir. He has been in the league for damn near a decade, and that made me feel really, really, really old. And it's funny too, because I think like the first time I had that feeling of like, oh man, I'm getting up there, is when we drafted Amari Cooper, and we were going through all of Coop's info, and I looked at Coop's birthday, and I was like, oh boy, I thought I was a young man, a man with a lot of life in front of me, but oh, I could not be more mistaken, because Coop was a young gun. So this was another instance of that this week, where I was like, man, I'm getting old, man. I'm not as young as I used to. And I know I got a couple grays popping in. I know the quarantine, my long quarantine hair has shown how many more grays I had than I initially thought. But oh boy, I am aging, as we all are. But let's get into something more exciting, more happy than my graying hair. This week's headlines. And first up, we are going to take a look at the Silver and Black's preseason schedule, which, as we know, we always knew the opponents. Well, I shouldn't say we always knew, but we've known the opponents for a while. But now we officially know the dates and the times for all four of those games. So, as I said, the preseason schedule finalized, and let's get into it. Week 1, and I think before we get into this, we're stating the obvious that this is tentative. This is as of now. As we've all learned the past couple months, fluidity is really the name of the game as we all kind of navigate the new stormy waters brought upon us by COVID-19. But regardless, Silver and Black, as of now, scheduled to open the preseason on August 13th at 7 p.m. That'll be in Seattle. The following week, August 21st, 7 p.m. against the San Francisco 49ers it at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California, just down the road from producer Trav's house. Week 3. Make sure you have this one circled on the calendar. The first game at Allegiant Stadium, Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals waltz into the desert on 8/27. That's a 7:30 kickoff. And then a few days later, the Silver and Black wrap up, mercifully, the 2020 preseason with another home tilt, this one against the Los Angeles Chargers. Kickoff scheduled for 7 o'clock p.m. So there it is. I know we've had a lot of schedule talk the past couple of days, and we're going to get into it more and more and more as the days, weeks, and months go on because, well, we don't have that much going on outside of looking ahead to when meaningful football comes back. But speaking of meaningful football, this week, a handful of teams began to reopen their facilities. The Silver and Black are not among them, hence the remote boys still live on, and we are recording this from our respective homes. But the Arizona Cardinals and the Atlanta Falcons did open up in some capacity. And it is important to note that there's no players, there's no coaches, no people like that, because the league was really adamant about kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, of preserving that competitive advantage in 2020 because look, we're all kind of playing by different rules right now. We're all trying to figure out how to get through this together. But in the spirit of that, I think rightfully the league wanted to make sure that in terms of coaches and players and the competitive stuff, everyone was going in at the same time. But I think the Falcons were at about 15 guys I saw via the Twitter, and they're hoping to increase that number in the coming weeks. But yeah, in terms of us, not there yet. And hopefully we are there sooner than later. But as soon as we have any type of solid intel and when we will be getting back into the building, we will be sure to relay that to you guys. So that is that. And as I said, we got a good show this week. So we're going to get right into it. And we want to thank, first off, before we welcome in our guest, Ryan Reaves of the Vegas Golden Knights. I just want to thank the Golden Knights in general for setting this up. We were talking to their PR guy before we got Ryan on the program the other day, and he was saying they've had a lot of requests for Ryan. He's a man in demand. This guy's like a king in the desert. He is that dude out here. Like he's on all the billboards. He's on all the ads. Like you look at whatever it is, it seems like Ryan Reaves' face is on it. But they said they've turned down a lot of requests for him, but they wanted to help kind of kick our relationship off with the Knights in the right way. And so we genuinely thank them for helping facilitate that. And our conversation with Ryan Reaves it was all encompassing. We talked a little homebrew. We talked a little hockey. We talked about his dad's career in the NFL. And I think I'm sure we went off the rails at some point, as we always do. But here it is, ladies and gentlemen, our conversation with Vegas's very own Ryan Reaves. Ryan, we've started every conversation the same way with people the past couple months, man. How are you hanging in there through all this craziness?
I'm doing good. I got the kids keeping me busy. I got honestly, we've been swimming every day. I bought a smoker. I'm smoking some ribs right now as we speak. That's why I'm outside. So trying to find things to stay busy with, but getting a little antsy, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to lift the veil for a sec. So I'm a hockey fan. I like watching the hockey. I come in for the playoffs every year. I firmly believe it's the best playoffs in all of sports. But I was texting a couple of my buddies today, and I was saying that you were coming on. And I was like, I need a little intel. I don't want to look stupid in front of this guy. I'm trying to make a good first impression on Vegas, right? And both of them, within about 30 seconds, said the same thing. One of them said he's the toughest mother expletive in the NHL. And the other guy goes, dude, in all caps, tough, 3 in a row. So I got to ask him, are you the toughest guy in hockey?
I would say I would have to be, yeah. Not really humble bragging, but I would say, yeah. I'm top 3 for sure.
Who gives you a run for your money, though? Like, is there anyone, like, if you could take yourself out of it, you're like, that's a tough dude?
I mean, I fought Ross Johnson this year. He plays for the Islanders. And he's a big, tough young guy coming up. He told me when we were in the aisle that I wasn't tough anymore, so we put that to rest pretty quick in Las Vegas.
What do you think hurts more, getting in a fight in hockey or, like, getting just, like, crushed coming across the middle in football?
Getting crushed?
Yeah, like, some, like, little receiver comes across the middle and the middle linebacker says, nope.
I would say getting crushed just because I think unless you get knocked out in the fight, the adrenaline's kicking so much that you don't really feel it till after. But, I mean, if you get crushed coming across the middle, I mean, that can I mean, I played football when I was younger. That can hurt right away.
Yeah, I mean, either way, like I'm too soft to do either of them, so I can appreciate a man like you who makes his money mixing it up. But Ryan, we want to have you on for a lot of reasons, man. But a lot of them, one of the biggest reasons is obviously you were here. You've been with the Knights for a couple seasons. You've been such an outspoken supporter of the Silver and Black, which we appreciate, and we'll get to in a sec. But I'm curious if you could just go back just a little bit into your memory where you were part of that inaugural team for the Knights, and you got to experience what that playoff run was like, what going through everything for the first time in Vegas was like. What do you remember about how much that community embraced this team and how much fun you guys were having for that?
Yeah, so I got traded here trade deadline. So I didn't get to see, the beginning of everything, which I know was crazy too. Everything leading up to the playoffs, you only hear stories of how fun it is here. And I played here with Pittsburgh, and when we came here, it's just, you step out on the ice and it's just, man, it's wild out here. You got the girls dancing in the corner, the Vegas Bells, and the music is just wild. And you got the DJs playing and the drum line, and it's a big show on ice. And, you get a little taste of that when you come here and play against the Knights. But when I got traded here, it's just something I've never seen before. Like, this team had only been around for a couple months, and you couldn't go more than 10 feet without seeing some kind of Knight sign somewhere, on a car, on a building, somebody's hat, a tee, wherever it is. The whole city was just plastered with it. During the playoffs, the Statue of Liberty, she had the big Golden Knights jersey. The MGM Lion had the Golden Knights jersey. It was just, it was hard to believe that this hadn't been a hockey town for 40 years. It's very hard to believe that a team just arrived here.
And then I'm glad you brought up like the signs and the stickers on the car, because my fiance and I just moved here a couple months ago, kind of right before the world shut down. And one thing that we've noticed is just in the very limited time that we're walking around the neighborhood, taking the dog to the park, it seems like everywhere you go, every car, like you said, there's that sticker, there's that placard on the front lawn, there's that sign hanging in the window. And this city really has embraced you guys. Do you think that that's going to be the Silver and Black, the Raiders are going to see similar results in that aspect of the city really coming together and bonding around them?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I think, obviously we were the first sports team, so there's going to be a big rally around that. But, this is the first football team to come to Vegas. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, first football team to come to Vegas. So, I think the city has proved that it's a sports town now. And, now you just start embracing everybody else that's coming in.
What do you think the biggest misconception about Vegas as a sports town is? Because I find myself, telling my buddies at home, like, oh, there's so much more to Vegas than the Strip and everything. But for a guy who's lived here for as long as you have now, who's kind of experienced the ups and the downs of being a professional athlete in the city, what do you think the biggest misconception about, playing and living here is?
I think, and it was my opinion, I guess, before I got traded here, that the whole crowd was basically just people coming in to watch their team because, hey, let's go to Vegas, watch a hockey game, let's go watch the Montreal Canadiens because we live in Montreal. Vegas is a nice vacation spot. So, I think everybody thought that it was just going to be a bunch of away fans, but it's not even close to that. You do have those games where you get those traveling teams and they take up, an eighth of the arena, whatever. But for the most part, it's all locals here. It's all people cheering for the Knights, and it's the exact opposite of what I would have thought.
And I think that's one thing that we're hoping too, is when Allegiant Stadium opens and that place gets rocking, hopefully on that Monday night against the Saints, where there is such a, you're going to have your traveling fans coming in, but it's going to be such a diehard kind of core of people from Vegas coming out to the game, supporting their local team, and really, if the products on the field is good, really getting behind them in a big way.
Yeah, I mean, the product's always there. I mean, Oakland, obviously not the results in the last couple of years, but it's a storied franchise. And you bring that to Vegas and people will come and people will support. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Oakland fans that are going to be coming down to support the team too. So I'm not too worried about it.
Ryan Reaves is our guest. And Ryan, I got to ask you, man, how does a kid from Winnipeg end up a fan of the Raiders?
I was actually a Jerry Rice fan. So
okay.
Yeah, so I was a 49ers fan, and then he got traded to Oakland. I was an Oakland fan, and then I loved the uniforms, the silver and black, and it was just like it was that mean team. And you start looking up the story of the franchise, and I fell in love with it. I know Jerry went to Seattle right after for a little stint, but I stuck with the Raiders, and I've been a Raiders fan ever since, diehard, through the thick and thin.
I know, and hopefully entering a very positive portion of this franchise's history here. But I love hearing people's like origin stories, right, of how they became Raiders fans, because like it's a global fan base where it's not just limited to Vegas or Northern California or Southern California. We talk to so many people that, I'm from Mississippi, or I grew up in Paris, or whatever it is, and 9 times out of 10, dude, it is the uniforms. People love the silver and black. Like, it doesn't matter. They transcend age, race, generations, nothing. Like, people love those unis.
They look mean. They're sleek. It's the swag of the whole team. It's just it's a good look. So
if I'm getting this correct, so your dad played in the CFL, right? He was a Winnipeg Blue Bomber. Yeah. So we were actually in Winnipeg a year ago for a preseason game, the infamous, we're going to play this game on an 80-yard field. But I'm curious, I
apologize for all the
oh no, dude, you know what's funny is that the people of Winnipeg, like, the day itself was like kind of a crazy day, right? Like, we saw some of it play out on Hard Knocks, and obviously the game itself was just kind of a weird day. But the people there were so nice, man. They were so good to us. They were so welcoming. We went and we checked out the Jets stadium when we were there. I got a Winnipeg Blue Bombers hat. Like, everyone was just so good to us, and it was a blast. So it's funny now finally talking to a guy.
I wish I could support that, but my brother actually plays for Saskatchewan, so I gotta say, get rid of that hat.
Oh man, dude, I thought I was gonna get some brownie points with we got the Winnipeg Connect, and just shot me down.
Yeah, my brother plays for Saskatchewan, so I can't give you anything for that.
Oh man, well I gave credit for trying, at least, I suppose.
That's fair. Any other time.
Yeah. So your pops, he actually played in the NFL for a little bit too, right? Dolphins and Redskins?
Dolphins, Redskins. He started with Green Bay. He didn't play a ton in the NFL. He had some injuries. But when he came to the CFL, he played for Winnipeg. He won a Grey Cup. He was league MVP, All-Star, I don't know how many times, but he was a force, that's for sure.
So who were the posters on young Ryan Reaves' bedroom wall? Who were those guys?
I had Jerry Rice. And then most of them were hockey after that. It's tough to find NFL posters in Winnipeg, but I had Patrick Waugh. I was a big Colorado Avalanche fan. So I had a Montreal Canadiens Patrick Waugh, then a Colorado Avalanche Patrick Waugh. I had a Joe Sakic, Peter Forsberg. Had a couple girls up there. I don't know who they were, but
that's a pretty nice rounded out mix, though, if you think about it.
You
covered a lot of bases.
I had a lot of NFL pennants. I definitely had I don't know if I had a Raiders then, but I definitely had a 49ers, a Miami, a couple things for my dad, a couple of balls that he played. That's about it.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine the man cave right now is a pretty impressive one as well, though.
You know what? Here's the problem with Vegas is if you want a basement, you're going to be, it's expensive because you're digging through that rock. So I don't have a man cave. I got an office that I just kind of started a couple of weeks ago, but that's about it. I don't really have a man cave.
Well, it's a good quarantine activity to get in the office where it needs to go. See,
yeah,
professional athletes, they're just like us, right? Doing a little home improvement during the time at home.
Yeah, well, we just built this house. I just moved in October. So I was just talking to a couple of buddies today, and I said, I wish this was an older house so I had some stuff to do because, everything's new. I got nothing to fix up around here.
Well, that's a good problem to have, I suppose. But, on draft night, we got your thoughts on Ruggs and Damon Arnett. And thank you for that, by the way. Very exciting. Got the people going. So what did you think about the rest of the draft? I know that everyone gets so enamored with that first day, and obviously they're the shiny new toys and they're the good, the high-priced bricks. But
I'll be really honest with you. I didn't see the rest of the draft because my kids were running me crazy for the next couple of days, and I missed it.
That's fair. That's more than fair. I mean, it's long, bro. It's 3 days. Like, it's a long
I tuned in for the whole first one, the whole first day, and I caught a little bit of the second. But the kids are – when I'm home, especially my boy, he's all over me. He doesn't give me a lot of breathing room.
Well, that's good. Have you had a chance to meet any of the guys on the Raiders yet? Or obviously everyone's being safe and trying to do the right thing there. But have you had a chance to kind of cross paths with any of our guys yet?
Yeah, so we had that Battle for Vegas baseball tournament. So I met a couple of them there, Abram, Mo Hurst. I met Reese down in Marcel Reese in Oakland because I flew down with my boy for the season opener. Jacobs came down to the locker room. So yeah, I've met a couple.
Yeah, you're rolling with the heavy hitters, man. That's a pretty good crew to be spending time with.
Yeah, you know what? I'm a big fan of Abram. I know he only played the one game, right?
Yeah, just the
home opener. He got hurt then. I'm a big fan of him. You know, he brings a lot of he's one of those guys. That was him in Hard Knocks. He said, "I just want to hit somebody." Right? He was running around in training camps. Like, I just want to hit somebody, coach. I can relate to that. So I'm a big fan of his. Big fan of Jacobs. I used to play running back when I was younger. So those are my boys. I got to pick one of those jerseys. I came with a Jerry Rice jersey, so I got to see.
Dude, but you can't go wrong with a GOAT jersey.
No, I know
you can't go wrong.
I had to get.
I can't. I'm trying to picture this, visualize this in my head of you playing running back and just absolutely lowering your shoulder and laying the boom on guys.
I'll tell you a story. So my dad was. He was my coach when I was younger, and he was a running back. He wasn't one of those dance around guys. He was go through everybody. And so that's how he taught me how to play running back. So I take a kickoff return, and I'm young, and I go down the left side, and these 3 guys kind of corner me out down the sideline, and I just step out of bounds. And my dad came up to me, grabbed my face, and I was like, if you ever run out of bounds like that again, you won't play for the rest of the season. You go through him. So he's all in my face. So very next kickoff return, I catch it. I run down the same way, same kid standing there. I lay my head down, go right through him, blow through him, touchdown. Kid's laying there, broken collarbone. My dad's on the field celebrating for so long. He gets flagged. Man, that's how my dad brought me up. He made me into the player I am on the ice. He never allowed me to run, dance around people. And that translated into my hockey game.
Dude, somewhere Jon Gruden is just his spider sense went up.
I'm telling you, I'm getting old, but never know. Maybe I'll make a quick comeback. I can go lay some people out on the field.
Dude, I would love to see that, man. And Ryan, we've taken up a lot of your time, but I'm gotta ask you about one thing, man. And I was doing my homework earlier, and I saw that you are a little more advanced in the home brewing game than I am myself.
Yeah.
But
there you go.
That is there
Shameless
it is.
Plug 75 Brewing.
Shamelessplug.com. But dude, how did you get into that? Because I started home brewing literally a couple weeks ago because I've told my fiance I was going to do it forever. And I finally had the time and I was like, I got no excuse not to. But I mean, you've completely taken that and just blown it up to the umpteenth degree. Yeah.
So I wanted to do what you did. I wanted to brew some beer in my garage when I played in St. Louis. So I was looking on Amazon, get some stuff, some ingredients, the kit I need to brew. I got linked up with a guy who owns a brewery or was opening a brewery in St. Louis. And he just asked me, you know how to brew? And I said, no, I'm just going to YouTube it. And he just laughed at me and said, okay, we'll go to my basement. He had a little home brew kit. He's like, I'll teach you how to do it here. So we brewed an IPA there. I went back home. I ended up getting traded that summer. He called me, said he tasted it, said it was really good. So he's like, let me sell it at my brewery. We'll work something out, whatever. So he started selling it, did pretty well. I get to Pittsburgh, and I was only there for, a couple months. Then I get to Vegas, and, if you go to Portland, you go to Seattle, Colorado, those places, you can find 20 breweries in an area. You come here, and there's only 20, 30 breweries in, the whole city, if that. And so besides the fact that I was now into the craft brewery scene, I saw a little bit of a business opportunity. And my boy from back home, he used to work for Labatt up in Canada. So I called him up. We came down here, had a couple meetings with breweries and distributors, and our first meeting was in July, and we launched our first beer in December, and now we have 4 beers out right now. That's awesome. Yeah, I currently have a little pale ale cooking in the guest bathtub at the moment. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's going all right, man. It's actually really funny. My fiance's mom, so my future mother-in-law, is a really good brewer, home brewer. That's what she kind of does in her spare times because the kids are out of the house. And I was like, dude, I got to try it. And so she's kind of my sensei now in all of this, where she's giving me the tips and tricks. But dude, it's fun, man. It's a good hobby. It's a good hobby to have. It's kind of, you got it eats a whole day too. It's 90% of brewing isn't fun stuff. It's cleaning and scrubbing and sanitizing. But it eats a nice day for you, especially if you can, grab a boy and, sit down, have a couple of beers while you're doing it. It's fun.
Dude, I've become, and I'm not even proud of this, like the incessant, like I got to go and like check how the fermentation's going guy.
Yeah.
Like, dude, it's been like 4 hours. Like, you don't need to check it again. You know what I mean? But I've totally like become that person. And I'm like kind of okay with it, but I'm trying to like kick the habit a little bit like while it's early. But man, it's fun, dude. It definitely becomes like kind of all consuming in your
Oh yeah.
spare time. Yeah. One of these days, man, we're going to crush a beer. I'll bring a beer, you bring a beer, and we'll have a good time.
You got a deal.
All right. Well, Ryan Reaves, our guest, man. We appreciate you so immensely. Stay safe, stay healthy, and hopefully we'll catch you at a game or something sooner than later.
Absolutely. Take care.
And a big thank you to our new close personal friend, Ryan Reaves. And hopefully we are sharing ice cold bruchachos sooner than later, whether they be Coors Lights or one of Ryan's own homebrew remedies. But I hope we are drinking beers together before too long, man, because I miss that. I miss hanging out with my buddies, cracking cold ones, and doing all that in person, not over Zoom. But thankfully, I'll do that with KMM and Trav in just a little bit, but not before we welcome in our second guest, because we're going big this week. We got the double header, baby. We are very, very happy to catch up with our new friend, Nick Kwiatkoski. As I said, probably one of the bigger free agent signings that this team made this offseason. And during our time with Nick, we talked about it all. We talked about Coach Gunther, the virtual offseason program, what it means to him now to be in silver and black, to open up this brand new, beautiful stadium here in the desert in just a few months. And Nick was a good sport with us, very gracious with his time. So sit back, relax, and enjoy our conversation with Nick Kwiatkoski. And Nick, man, congratulations. I was telling you a second ago, free agency has been a topsy-turvy world for us this year, but I'm happy to finally put a face to the name and officially welcome you to the Raider Nation.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here.
So, Nick, I got to ask before we get going, what's the most creative pronunciation of your last name that you've heard?
That's a hard one. I mean, I've literally heard everything. You know, I've been playing sports since I was 6, 7 years old, you know, getting your name called, people, you know, first day, people asking your name. I mean, I've heard everything. I mean, if you can look at my name and think of a way to pronounce it, I've heard it. It's hard to pick just one.
Yeah. We were actually, when we first signed you, we were kind of joking. We're like, all right, I don't want to butcher this dude's name. So we were just going Nick K for the first couple of weeks of you being here. So like on all the podcasts, on all the videos and stuff, whenever we brought your name up, we're like, all right, we're going to bring Nick K in from Chicago. That's great. And we didn't even go, but now we can do it Kwiatkoski. Yep. Nice and easy. It rolls off the tongue, actually.
Yeah. It looks intimidating. It's not.
So how are you hanging in there though, man? I mean, it's been a crazy kind of time. Things are very topsy-turvy, but how are you doing in kind of the midst of this pandemic that we're living through?
Yeah, I'm doing well, man. I'm still in Chicago working out and training. You know, we started virtual meetings, things like that. So I'm just taking it day by day, you know, trying to get a place out in Vegas and just kind of taking things slow and seeing what happens.
You know, speaking of those virtual meetings, how is that part of it going? Because this is something that's completely brand new to everyone across the league. But for a guy in your position who's joining a new team, who's trying to get up to speed on everything, it's got to be especially unique for you.
Yeah, I mean, I've never experienced anything like it, but it's been good so far. You know, I mean, it definitely takes a little more time mentally, you know, watching film, you know, going over notes, things like that. I mean, we don't get that experience of, you know, getting on the field and doing it for real. So, I mean, you just got to get those extra minutes in the books, film, things like that. So, I mean, it's been good so far. You know, as we continue, I'm sure there'll be new things that pop up that, you know, might get challenged without doing on the field. But so far, it's been great.
You know, Coach Gruden and Mike Mayock were talking before the draft, and they were saying that it seems like with organizations, there's one of two ways you can go in something like this, where you can kind of resist the change that we're living in, and you can, you know, kind of fight it. He goes, or you kind of do what we're doing, where you embrace the virtual aspect of it, you know, say, hey guys, this is what we're doing right now. And you really make the most of it. Has that kind of been your impression of how the coaching staff and everyone's kind of attacking this virtual offseason program?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all you can do is just make the most of it. I mean, it is what it is at this point. So, you know, get on the meetings every day and try to learn as much as you can.
So last year, going back just a little bit, you're coming off a career high in sacks and tackles. What really clicked for you in 2019?
You know, it was a combination of a lot of things. You know, I had great teammates, you know, great coaches, things like that. And then preparation before games. And it's something like linebacker room as a whole we did, whether we were starting, whether we were, you know, inactive. I mean, the whole room, we prepared as we were all starting. And it really helped each other throughout a week, just bouncing ideas, watching film together, things of that nature. I mean, that really propelled us as a room, helped me perform.
And all the research we've done in the past couple of weeks since you signed and all the people that we've talked to, kind of the purveying theme is that you're a guy who's still getting better, that your best football is still ahead of you. You're peaking, you're crescendoing at the right time to bring that here to the desert. Is that kind of how you see it too? That you say, hey, I've played a lot of good football, but I still got a lot of football ahead of me too?
Yeah. I mean, I go into meetings like that every day, ready to learn, ready to get better. Put that in my training every day, working on football things, trying to get stronger, things like that nature. So, yeah, I definitely feel that way.
Mike Mayock said the other day, it seems about a week ago now, actually, what is time at this point though, right? All the days are running together, but he was saying that you're going to have the green dot in 2020 in the middle of Paul Guenther's defense. When you kind of hear that from your GM, for a guy who's literally just coming into the program, but to have that kind of endorsement and wearing the green dot is it's no walk in the park. Is that something that you're proud of? And you're kind of like, yeah, this is going to be a nice, exciting challenge for me to kind of start my career in silver and black.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely a responsibility. I've done it in the past, so I'm ready for it. But it's definitely a great thing to hear, this early as well.
What do you think the biggest challenge about having that responsibility is, being that man in the middle of Paul Guenther's defense?
It's just a matter of communication. I mean, that starts before you even step on that field. I mean, practicing, just kind of getting those calls out, working with everyone, just being able to communicate from the D-line all the way to the back end and just being smooth with it.
Speaking of Paul Guenther, what have your early impressions been of Gunt? I know that it's kind of hard to get an accurate gauge on probably who he is because we're all living this virtual life. But in the early goings of your relationship, how has that kind of been progressing for you?
He's been great. Anytime I have a question about the defense, scheme-wise, give him a call. I mean, he's been great. Great guy, like you said. I mean, it's hard to really get to know someone through a computer screen or a phone call. But so far, I mean, it's been great. I'm looking forward to working with him.
You look at that Bears defense from a year ago, a top 10 defense, and there were portions of that year where it was by and large considered the best defense in the NFL. What are some of the characteristics and the qualities that you saw last year that you're hoping that can kind of be emulated in Vegas in 2020?
We're close defense, played tough, fast. And the biggest thing was, we limited mistakes. And when someone did make a mistake, I mean, it was just look by it, look past it, next play mentality. That's kind of how we went through the whole year, just next play mentality, next game, whatever happened, put it behind us and get better and build off it.
And I hate to bring it up, man. I feel like you knew I was going to bring it up, but is it crazy to think that game in London, what was it, 6 months ago or whatever now, when you think back to that game, that fast forward to today and you'd be wearing that other jersey?
No, not at all. I mean, especially at that point, I had no idea what the future held. I mean, even up until, end of the season going into free agency, I mean, I had no idea where I was going to end up. So looking back, I mean, it's crazy to think.
So last year, and obviously this is nothing that you were here for, you were a part of, but the linebacking play on this team in 2019 needed to get better. Mike Mayock has said that. Jon Gruden said that. It's not a secret. It's a pretty obvious, glaring need that headed into the offseason that the linebacking play had to be better. You add Corey Littleton now. Tanner Muse in the draft, you bring in Nick Moore back. It's going to be by and large a very different group in 2020. And the experts, I got to put them in quotes, the so-called experts say, has gone from a weakness to a strength in the span of 6 months for this team. Is that exciting to you to be part of a group that hopefully, if all things goes to plan, is really going to have a chance to grow and kind of mature together?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And that was big. I mean, that's big for any position group, working together, growing together. Having trust in one another. I mean, that's all things that, go into being a great group. So, I'm looking forward to building with those guys and working with them.
Corey Littleton in particular is a guy that is coming in here with a lot of expectations, just like you, but is coming in here with kind of that cachet, with that name recognition. I mean, are you excited to get a chance to play with him, to line up in the middle of that defense with him and kind of see him go to work every Sunday?
Yeah. I got an opportunity to play against him once last year. And he's a guy, he's flying around, he's making tackles, he's making plays. So I'm looking forward to that. It's definitely exciting to me lining up with him.
And now I know Coach Smith, right? Coach Frank Smith. You guys were together in Chicago for a little bit, right?
Yes.
Do you know anyone else on this team? Are you the new kid in school right now?
I'm new. I don't know many people, so I'm looking forward to meeting those guys and, like you said before, building with them.
One kind of interesting aspect of this year, outside of the obvious ones that we're living, is that the rookies and the free agent class, all these new faces that we're adding to this team, are going to be part of something really special in the sense that they're going to not only be the first crop of Las Vegas Raiders, but they're going to open up this shiny new stadium, this incredible, palace in the desert out here in Vegas. Is that exciting to you to be a part of this next chapter and to be, able to one day to be able to tell your kids and look in the man cave and be like, hey, I was one of the first guys that played in that stadium?
Yeah, it's awesome to think about. I mean, that's something that Coach Gruden had called, and, he said during free agency that was a big selling point for me. I mean, just being that first, like you said, crop of guys that opened the new stadium, new city. I mean, there's a lot of exciting things surrounding the organization, so I can't wait to be part of it. I can't wait for that first game.
I was just thinking about this too. Is like one day when, 25 years from now when you retire, because I think you're going to play until your mid 40s if I were to guess. But when you put that man cave together one day, man, you're going to have two of the most iconic jerseys in NFL history hanging up there. That Bears jersey, which is sweet, and then the silver and black, which, to be fair, I think is the best one in North American sports. But that's pretty cool that you're going to have a pretty well put together little office one day.
Yeah, hopefully that's some years down the road. But yeah, it's something I've thought about. I mean, it is two historic organizations. I mean, huge history behind them. I mean, just great organizations, and I'm lucky to be being a part of the Bears and now the Raiders.
Yeah, and we're excited to have you, man. So, Nick, thank you for taking a few minutes with us, brother. We appreciate you. Stay safe, stay healthy. And like I said, it was great to finally meet you, albeit in a virtual setting.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
And a sincere, genuine thank you to our new friend, Nick Kwiatkoski, the man with the green dot. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to that point in the show. It is victory formation. Eddie Paskal, producer Trav, and we are so thrilled to welcome back after a week away. God knows what he was doing, and frankly, it's really none of my business. But Kyle Cannon, Booby Cartwright Martin, goodness, it is good to have you back in the mix, brother.
I'm happy to be back in the mix. I'm happy to address Broncos Twitter. I'm ready to get into it because they came at me pretty hard. And deservedly so. I didn't have a ton of hard-hitting facts. A lot of it was based on personal bias, my negativity towards Mr. Drew Lock. But this week I've got something for him. I've got some facts for him, and I'd like to defend myself.
And before you launch your defense, for those of you who didn't listen to last week's show, the last time Kyle graced us, he had some pretty spicy takes about Drew Lock, which is fair, which is his right. This is America. And in the span of that show coming out, and well, today obviously, but probably within 2 or 3 days, Kyle, a podcast in Denver had actually clipped some of your comments about Drew Lock, had brought a lot of heat at you, clowned me, clowned all of us. And you're here to defend yourself, to defend your honor against these attacks.
I am. So the conversation, as I recall, I believe it started because our social czar Matt Walks made a joke about quarterbacks the Raiders will face in 2020, and he specifically left Drew Lock off the list. I voiced my appreciation for that, and then I went down a long winding road where I felt like Michael Scott, where that episode when he says, sometimes I just start a sentence and I don't really know where it's going. It was that exact moment. However, I went on to say that Baker Mayfield was more of a winning quarterback than Drew Lock. And let me clarify, when I said that, I intended it to be referred to his college stats. Because in college, Baker Mayfield, as we know, won the Heisman Trophy, and he won 39 games as a college starter. How many games did Drew Lock win? He won 24. And how many times did he consecutively lose 4 or more games? 3 times. He lost 4 or more games 3 times in a row. So the man, when I said Baker Mayfield is a winner and Drew Lock is not, that's what I was referring to. However, a lot of Broncos fans came at me and they said Drew Lock 4-1 in his rookie season, quite the performance. Sure, I'll give it to him. The guy had 3 touchdowns and 300 yards against the Houston Texans in a 38-24 win. That's big time. I'm not going to take anything away from that performance. But he threw 7 touchdowns in 5 starts, okay? 5 of those touchdowns came in his first 2 games, and then his numbers dwindled significantly, failing to go over 200 yards 2 out of 3 final games and throwing only 1 touchdown. Drew Lock has potential. I'm not denying that. But I'm not buying the fact that he is the guy, that he's going to take the league by storm. I'm not going to if he does, I'll be the first one to admit that I'm wrong. But I'm not scared when I see the Denver Broncos on the Raiders schedule is all I'm saying.
So is it fair to say you are not apologizing for your remarks?
I'm acknowledging that my first take was not factual at all, and my analysis was piss poor. I'll give Broncos Twitter that because there's no validity in anything that I said. But this week, I'm here to say and clarify some of the comments that I made.
This whole thing tickled me for so many reasons, and we obviously have a Slack channel where we discuss the show and things of that nature, and then we have a bigger one with all of our friends in the studio. But man, I was dying because they came at you, KMM. Broncos Twitter came at you with a fury, and it makes me so happy that our show has finally got some beef. Like, we got people coming at us. Like, it was like we were joking where it's like, obviously I don't want them to take shots at you, but the fact that they had to listen to our show and then clipped our show and then put that's kind of a win, brother. That's a W. You did what you had to do.
Any publicity is good publicity, right?
Stephen A.
Even
Martin,
if it makes
baby.
me look foolish. Yeah, I would say I was more Skip on that. Skip gets a lot of hate mail, and I feel like I was deserving of some of the tweets that I received, but I feel like I made some points that I backed up factually this week.
And you're still unwilling to apologize, which I respect immensely.
Look, I mean, if Drew Lock proves me wrong, he proves me wrong. I'll be the first one to admit it. Okay, I'm not saying he doesn't have potential. I'm just saying I don't know if I buy it after 5 games. Because look at Baker Mayfield. If that's what I based it around, right? And a lot of people had issue with that. Baker Mayfield had a hell of a rookie year. Okay. Second year, what happens? Defenses pick up what he does, his tendencies, and then he drops off. Drew Lock, 5 games. That's a small sample size for defensive coordinators to look at his tape and go, okay, here's what we can do to take advantage. Year 2 might be a little bit different. Who knows? He has plenty of weapons. He's got Jerry Jeudy. He's got Cortland Sutton. He's got Noah Fant. They're going to be fine. He's got Melvin Gordon in the backfield now. He's got plenty of weapons. I'm just saying, let's give it some time. Let's give it some time, okay? I'm not willing to dub him the next Patty Mahomes of the division.
Just let it. That's all you want. You just want a little marination. That's all you want, KMM.
Yeah, let's. In his defense too, I'm sure he doesn't want all the hype. Let him just work in the shadows.
I don't know about that. I don't know if I buy that one for a second, Kyle.
I'm just saying. I don't know. Let's let the man work. If he proves me wrong, he proves me wrong. But if I had to choose between Derek Carr and Drew Lock, I'm going Derek Carr right now.
Yeah, I think I would as well. But speaking of guys that are going to work, KMM, Prince Amakamura enters the mix on the Gump Daddies defense earlier this week. I know that you had a chance to talk to the Prince. Please check out KMM's story on Raiders.com regarding all things Amakamura. And I want to ask you a question real quick, Booby. When you look at Prince from your objective perspective, do you look at him as a guy that's going to push for starting time? Or is he just like a really good, above average depth piece in the secondary? Veteran presence kind of guy.
When I spoke with Prince on the phone, I believe Monday, after he signed, he was very clear that he said, quote, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I'm in this to become a starter. Like I'm competing for the starting job no matter what. So I don't think he's just a depth piece. I don't think he's just a guy that they brought in to mentor some of the younger guys. Although I did some research earlier, the Raiders, prior to us signing Prince, our average age in the cornerbacks room was 23 years old between 9 cornerbacks. That's really young. So the Raiders are adding a 30-year-old, soon to be 31 in early June, to a very youthful group, and he's going to have plenty of positivity and insight to offer those young guys. I think it's going to be a good signing for the team. He said that the thing that stood out to him the most was Paul Guenther's scheme in terms of why he signed. Paul Guenther lets his guys fly around, make plays, and Prince plays with an aggressive nature. So instinctually, that's where he finds that he can thrive, and we'll see if that happens.
Dude, it's funny, and I'm sure this is kind of the nature of the beast throughout the NFL, and you and I have kind of lived it firsthand, Kyle, but God, I'm gonna have to like reintroduce myself to like half the DB room next year. The turnover in that room has been incredible. Worley's gone, Amakamura's in, Damon Arnett's in. Who else? Jeff Heath is in. Like, I mean, there's a lot. There's gonna be a lot of new faces, a lot of fresh energy in that room in 2020.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they've definitely made the necessary improvements. Obviously, last year, takeaways were something that the Raiders needed to improve on entering this year. Last year, the Raiders finished with 9 total interceptions, ranked 29th in the league. That
Not good.
simply will not do. So, I mean, you let a couple of guys come in, Damon Arnett, Trayvon Mullen, who's entering his second season. You got Prince, who likes to play aggressively. I think we can expect to see some more interceptions. And then with our linebacking core of the wonderful Nick Kwiatkoski, who came on the pod earlier, and Corey Littleton, we're going to see some better coverage over the middle too.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's been refreshing for me, at least sitting here from afar, and obviously we're very far since none of us are in the building right now, but when you look at what this team, the big needs on this team headed into 2020, headed into this offseason, you have to think that at least on paper, most of those have been filled. The linebacking core completely needed to be rebuilt. And it is by and large been completely rebuilt. You needed to get better on the outside. You needed to have better DBs. By and large, you would have to say after the draft and after the Amakamura stuff and the signings in free agency, you're looking at Jeff Heath, guys like that. Improve there as well. You needed a stud wide receiver on the outside. You had to have one. You go and you get Hank Ruggs 3. Like, and I know that we're a long way away from playing meaningful football, and God only knows when that's actually going to be. But like I said, man, at least on paper, you have to feel like the things that need to get fixed have been fixed so far.
Yeah, I mean, last year the Raiders need to address the pass rush. They addressed the pass rush, and then, like you said, there were several areas of need that the Coach Gruden, the coaching staff, and Mike Mayock needed to address this year, and they went out and did so. I mean, there's really no room for excuses anymore. The Raiders have plenty of playmakers on that side of the ball, and I think we can expect them to take a big step forward in 2020. I will say though that the Raiders had a good rush defense last year. I don't know where they ranked off the top of my head, but it was a significant jump from the year prior in 2018.
You know what's crazy to think too, man? And I was just looking at the calendar as literally as I was you were talking. We haven't seen this team together in almost 5 months now. Like, how wild is that to think about? It's been almost 5 months since we saw them all in the building.
Yeah, and it'll probably be 8 months until we see them all together, which is
Yeah.
even weirder.
But it's funny because at this time of the year, right, with OTAs about to start kicking off, like you've seen the guys, like they've been in the building, and granted they're not at practice and they're not wearing pads and any of that stuff, but you're putting faces to the names. Your rookies have been in. You've gotten to kind of build those relationships. Like we haven't done any, not we, our collective, but just we as a team, we haven't seen them together, and it's like so crazy to think that we're sitting here a week or 10 days out from June, and we haven't seen any of these guys in person.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what those Zoom meetings are like. I mean, there's only so much you can learn and so much you can see and how much you can interact with your teammates. When we talked to Jalen Richard, I believe it was last week, about his Harvard business program that he was in, that was one thing that he noted is just, yeah, I can reach out to my teammates as much as I want, but it's just different when you're on the football field and they can pick your brain there when you're going through live reps versus something that you discussed in a film meeting. So a lot of feeling out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just different in general. It's like, you miss just like having human contact. Like I love seeing you guys every week. I tell you all the time, it's one of the highlights of my week getting to do this, but it's not the same as being in the beat lab. You know what I mean? It's not the same as kind of feeling that energy and being able to pick up on each other's cues and having our bit. I mean, it's good. Like, don't get me wrong. If we could do this every single day of the week, I would. But it's not the same. It's different.
It's not. I mean, who would have thought that our last time in the pod studio would have been our last time in the pod studio? If you would have told us that then, that would be a trip.
Was our last time in the pod studio, was that the boring game of the year? No, we had one. We had a couple after that, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, who knows anymore? Who knows? But in other exciting news, hopefully which will end up being good news for the three of us at some point, Kyle, your close personal friend Woj tweeted out just a little while ago that the NBA is going to start bringing guys back preliminarily right around June 1. That has to just bring a smile to your face and uplift your soul.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, the Lakers reopened their facility over the weekend, I think on Saturday, And I read something on Twitter today about Danny Green saying that the Lakers are taking every precaution. The shoes that you wear to the facility, you have to leave at the door. You can't wear them inside the facility. They're also not allowing the players to shower in the locker rooms or things like that, just to not contaminate each other with bodily sweat and things flying around. But
Sure, shout out bodily fluids.
yeah. I am excited though. I've seen a lot of reports. I mean, the NBA could continue the season in Las Vegas. It could continue it in ESPN Orlando. I just want it to return. I don't care. Like the NBA could come back in August or September, and I'd be totally okay with it as long as they continued the current season. I don't want to scrap this year because LeBron's only getting older, and I want to see the Lakers get a ring. And if they don't, who knows if Anthony Davis stays? I'm worried. I need some Lake Show back in my life.
I know, and it sounds like we're also getting closer to a little Premier League coming back. It sounds sooner than later. With I think is the most badass like project name. It's called Project Restart, which just sounds very official. It sounds very sexy. You know what I mean? But those guys are going to get back to work. Our MLS brothers and sisters have been back at work for a week now, so the wheels are starting to turn. They're turning very, 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 very slowly, but they are turning nonetheless. And I need it, man. I need a little something in my life. I need a little spice. I need a spicy boy.
Yeah, I miss sports. I haven't resorted to watching Korean baseball, but I'm fiending for something.
Hey, did you watch any Bundesliga this weekend? Because the Bundesliga returned in a big way as well.
It did. I was unable to catch it just because I was not able to arise at that time. But I saw some of the highlights. I saw what's his name? He's on Borussia Dortmund. Um, Erling Haaland.
Mm,
Do you know who I'm referring
I like
to?
how you say it. I vaguely, yes. I gotta read up on my Bund. Travi, are you familiar with this gentleman?
You remember, you know who he is. When we were watching Champions League in the studio one day, he fired an absolute rocket from outside of the box.
Yes,
For,
yes, yes. I do. Yes, yes. I do know who you're talking about. I do know.
yeah, I just saw he scored first game back. He's going to be a superstar. I mean, he already is, but
Travis, I know you're a big Bundesliga guy. How much of the matches did you take in this weekend?
I watched the Bayern one, and then I think I watched a little bit of the Dortmund one, but that one was more just kind of background noise. But
What did you think of it without the fans and everything?
I thought it was kind of weird. I mean, you could literally hear everything. It sounded way too quiet. But I mean, I think it was cool. It seemed like it was more of like a scrimmage than like an actual game, though. You know?
Yeah, I mean, at this point though, man, I'd settle for a scrimmage of anything compared to nothing. But I watched the last game on Saturday, and the one thing that I noticed, dude, it was like that echo. Like every time you hear him yelling, like it just cascades because they're in these beautiful stadiums, but there's no one there, so you can hear all the yelling, you can hear the strike of the ball, and I mean it's cool, like, but it's definitely kind of eerie that there's no one in there.
I wonder if they would consider. I mean, it's frowned upon, especially if it's a sold out game like in the NFL and people pump in crowd noise. But with no one there, I wonder if they've considered just having like random chants from what their fans usually sing blare through the sound system, or just who like clapping, whatever. It would be weird for them to play and hear that and look around and not see anyone. But
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's probably going to end up being a decision of like the home team, right? About how they want to handle it. But I'm with you, man. Like at least give us some ambient noise or something like that. But it'll be really interesting to watch over the next couple months when like I said, when we slowly start getting back to some meaningful semblance of whatever sport looks like for the time being. But how that part of it kind of evolves if it goes from no noise to just fake completely pumping in crowd, like it'll be interesting to see how the game day quote unquote experience like kind of changes between now and I don't know, winter or whatever it is.
yeah, we'll see, man. It was you were the one who sent me the tweet earlier that Watford, since they returned to training, have 3 confirmed tests of COVID-19. So I'm sure we'll see a lot more of that too.
Yeah, but I was reading somewhere that I mean obviously any infection is bad and that's obviously not good, but they were saying that the percentage of Premier League, because they tested all the players, the coaches, and I'm pretty sure like the training staff too. And the percentage of positive test was like less than like a 0.5%. And so they were saying like we expected someone to test positive. They were saying that like that low number, I think it was like six out of like the 500 plus people that they tested. So maybe some good news. Maybe who knows? I think we're all just looking for good news right now, and we're looking for something to kind of keep that fire lit and kind of give us a little hope for the future of some sort of sport, whatever it may be. But yeah, man, nothing but love and respect to our brothers at Watford. And dude, I see they're kind of I know we've gone off the rails now, but they're kind of at an interesting place too because they're technically out of the relegation zone. So they'd probably be like cool with ending the season as is because they would get to stay up. But then there's other teams that are like, nah, man, we got to play these games. So it's going to be interesting to see how that whole thing kind of shakes out over the next couple weeks too.
Yeah, I mean, how many games are even remaining?
I think I read somewhere today it was they have, I think it's like close to 90 games 90 matches they have to play in the span of, and I think their goal is to do it in like 40 days or less than 40 days. So that would be great news for us, man. If we had 2 Premier League games on a day, woo, I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, it's gonna stay on my TV at all times.
Yeah, but it'll be fun, man. It'll be something. Like I said, dude, I hope we're just getting there sooner than later because it feels like we do finally have some positive momentum in terms of bringing sports back. And I know there's a lot more things that are more important to bring sports back, but for just kind of our collective sanity, I'm really hopeful we can get there sooner than later. And it feels like we're getting there, although we are crawling with our hands tied and we're just kind of inching our way forward through the prison cell. But we're getting there, boys. We are getting there. Hey, producer Travi, do we have a few minutes to crack some cold Coors Lights? What do you think?
Let's crack them.
Let's crack them, baby. Who wants to go first?
You,
You want me to kick it off?
yeah, fire
Let's do
away.
it. I will crack an ice cold Coors Light for my mom this week. Actually, my mom retired. She was a nurse my entire life, and she retired a few years ago. And much like a lot of retired people, there were parts of retired life that she really liked, and there were parts that she didn't really like. And so she's been kind of the past couple months trying to figure out a way to kind of get back in the game, try to give back and help a little bit. She didn't want to work full time, which I can't blame her. But she was trying to find something that she could do, and she was just kind of getting antsy being at home. And like I said, she wanted to go figure out something to kind of do with her time. And so this week, she accepted a job. She is going to be one of the school nurses at one of my local high schools in Petaluma, back where they live. And she is super fired up, and she doesn't know exactly when she's going to report to work at first because no one knows when school's going to go back. But she was saying that she hopes that it'll be business as usual come the fall, and she's going to be going and crushing a few days a week at the high school. And she's really excited, man. So I'm going to crack this one for my mom.
Cheers to Mrs. Pascal.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. What do you got, KMM?
Well, I'm gonna keep it in the family friend area. I'm gonna crack a cold one for my girlfriend Angela. She completed her first year of law school. I've never seen anyone study for so long enough to make my mind hurt. I mean, she would wake up and study for 14 hours a day. So much reading. I could never do that. So she deserves a beer, and I'm gonna go crack it and give it to her right after this podcast.
Hell yeah, brother. What do you got, Travi? Take us home.
Mine's for the guy that came to my house to fix my internet yesterday.
Oh, that's right. And this was some great drama this week.
Yeah, my internet just Monday morning randomly went out, and tried to fix it myself. Nothing happened, and had to deal on the phone with my internet service provider, whom I will not name since they're not giving us any money. But yeah, came out, fixed it in like half hour. It was great.
Oh, beautiful. Were they able to? Was it user error the issue or?
No, actually, the main hub a couple streets over, something got unhooked, and it screwed me.
Sounds like an inside job, to be honest, Trav.
It was awful. I mean, you really realize how much we all live our lives around the internet.
Especially right now. Shoot.
Yeah, I know. Seriously.
Did they? Was he like sketched out or anything? Did he have to like come in the house? Was he nervous about entering your dojo?
He was like fully suited. He had the mask, the little booties on his shoes. He walked in just because he needed to see where this one box was, but of course it was in my basement. So then he went down to the basement, and then he never came inside again. He was only working outside.
You're also the only person I know in California that has a basement, Travis.
It's because my house is so old.
I suppose, but what do you even do in your basement? I mean, it's none of my business, but
Basement. It's just like an unfinished basement where I just store all my stuff that I don't need.
no, sure, fair enough. That's it. That was a good round of beers this week. I know that we've struggled, especially since Travis brought "He Who Shall Not Be Named" into the mix a few weeks back. But I felt good. That was a good round of ice cold Coors Lights, gentlemen.
Yeah, it makes you happy, right?
It does. It sure does. Well, we have done it. We've come to the end of another program. And a quick programming note: we're going to be back same time, same place next week. But I will not be in beautiful Henderson, Nevada. Where will I be? You're going to have to tune in to find out. So for Eddie Paskal, producer Trav, the great KMM, Ryan Reaves, Nick Kwiatkoski, Engineer Jim, and everyone else who helps get our little program from A to Z, we thank you deeply, humbly, and oh so sincerely. Oh, and real quick before we go, I was thinking about this. We love crushing Coors Lights now. I love it. It gives me life. So if any of you guys want to take a picture or a video of you crushing a Coors Light, send it to me, Trav, and KMM. You have all our Twitter handles, and we'll give you a little love next week on the program. So do that for us, and get a little love on the audio wave. So until next week, Eddie Paskal signing off for the Remote Boys, and we will catch you guys next week on Upon Further Review.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Upon Further Review, presented by Coors Light on the official Raiders Podcast Network.